DPS says one person is dead after an overnight pursuit ended in a crash. The chase started when a Lubbock police officer attempted a traffic stop near 41st and the interstate around 11:30 last night. The driver refused to comply, sparking that chase. State troopers say the suspect fired a gun at law enforcement multiple times during that pursuit. It ended about a half a mile west of Meadow when one of the responding units performed a pit maneuver on that vehicle. The suspect's car spun out and rolled. The driver died at the scene. No law enforcement officers were injured.